So, what is going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Bumblebee movie, Shockwave. And this is the new iteration because there's technically a core class one that was so unwanted that he ended up at the Dollarama in Canada for $5. Him and Ravage both showed up at the cheapest place you could feasibly get things. It's craziness. And as far as it goes, this is the big rendition, which it took a while. He's kind of the last main Decepticon for the Bumblebee movie. Because for the Bumblebee movie, they've already done, like, every character. It's crazy to think, but they're just doing the concept series. And I love the concept series, by the way. I think they should just keep going with that. I think they need to do more of that, personally. But this here is just amazing. He has one major flaw, and that's about it. Like, other than that, he's spectacular. As far as it goes, first things first, I love the color. I own 4 Shockwaves total, 2 of which are the same color, that being the core class and then the Dark of the Moon. They're really similar. They're kind of more like a burgundy-ish almost. Like, they're not red, they're more on the purple side. But they have a fair bit of red into them. Now, as far as it goes with that, the other one I own is the Siege one. And the Siege one is a lot darker. It's a very deep, dark purple. And it looks pretty good, honestly. I like that one a lot. But this here is what I want out of a Shockwave color. This kind of perfect violet. It's actually a lot more dull looking on camera. It kind of looks almost indigo on camera. But in person, it is a perfect violet color. And it's the perfect Shockwave color. There is no issues with this color. It looks fantastic. One thing that just looks really nice about this figure, though, is the fact that there is the kind of Siege battle damage on him. You can kind of see it on the thigh there. It's kind of all over him. It's definitely on the chest up here. You can kind of see it in the abdomen area. It's up around the translucent section of the chest. Up on the shoulders here. It looks really nice. I love that look, especially when it's not major. That was the thing with Siege. Some of them had it a little bit too overdone. This here, I think, is perfect. Because he would have primarily just been this gunmetal and then the purple. That's all he would have been, really. And another thing, he comes with his little rubber tube, of course. Every one of them does. I think this is probably the best iteration of the rubber tube, though, because this one actually allows him to move his arm, and I haven't actually had it pop out yet. Every other iteration, it loves to pop out, and it doesn't pop out and restricts articulation, or it pops out when you try to move him. So there's that. They do have a pretty clean back on this figure. He does turn into basically nothing, so they pretty much just have whatever. So there is 2 ports, so if you do want to make him right-handed, you can. One thing to note, and I'm sure you've seen this all over the place, he has an Autobot badge, which is accurate to the renders. Because the Bumblebee movie, a lot of the Cybertron designs are based off of the same character model, and if I'm not mistaken, he is based off of Optimus Prime. There's certain details, especially if you look at the arms, like these little circles here, they're very similar to the Bumblebee movie Optimus. He's a little bit out of reach for me at the moment, which is a shame. But they pretty much took the Optimus model and reworked it into Shockwave. So there's actually some similarities, which is kind of interesting. I like that whole angle, and there's another angle you could approach it with, that maybe this version of Shockwave was an Autobot. He was captured and made into Shockwave. That's what I like to think. Speaking of Shockwave, the head. That is blatantly Shockwave. And with the light setup, you can actually see he has a bit of light piping going on. So if I do that, that'll almost stop glowing. But he is constantly having a glowing yellow eye, which is phenomenal. He does have this little clear spot on the head for it, so it's just an extra piece of molded plastic. It looks like it's just kind of set in there, interestingly enough. So that's really good. And it just looks like an amazing head sculpt. It's very thin looking, but I feel like that's how it should be. As far as it goes, that's basically it for the details and everything like that. His articulation is actually pretty solid as well. He does have a ball joint in the head, but it's a little bit more restrictive because his head's basically just a square. He does have forward and back of the arm, outward, and here's that big issue that I mentioned. He doesn't have a bicep. Now, as far as it's been in the past 5 years, I can't think of another figure that hasn't had a bicep joint. There might have been a couple studios. I don't collect studio series as frequently as the regular Generations Chug line. So there is that. As much as I love the movies, I picked one and not the other. I only usually got characters I cared about from the movies. But he has this joint instead. So he can do this, but he can't do a rotated arm pose. So if you wanted to take his gun hand, it does rotate. That came off. I didn't even show that accessory. It is an accessory, but we'll get to it. But you can do this, but you can't do like pointing outward and spinning pose type of thing. His hand is a ball joint, so he does have a ball joint hand, but it's restrictive because it's a perfect cutoff. So he does have the rotation, so you can't really use it to its full effect, unfortunately. He does have a rotation at the waist, forward and back, outward, a knee joint. He then has a swivel there, but also a swivel up here. So he has a double swivel at the thigh for some reason. He then also has a bit of a tilt there. So pretty basic standard articulation on Shockwave. Nothing out of the ordinary other than the fact that he's missing that bicep. That's the only thing that sucks about this figure, in my opinion, is that he's missing that bicep. But as far as it goes, let's just get into that transformation. And as far as it goes with that, easy. First thing, pop this off. Nice. Fun fact, yes, he has two hands. So, yes, Cursed Shockwave can exist. If you'd like, he comes packed like that. But to put the gun on, I will mention this as well, because it'll most likely get skipped on the way back. You just put it into this slot there. There's no auto badge on that side. And you can just kind of leave this hanging here. There is one step you have to do with it, though, which is pull it out like that. The next thing, come to the other hand, flip that in like so. Then you're going to come to the arms. You're going to rotate them backwards. So the silver stripe's going to go back. There's a tab right there and a slot, kind of like a clip there, and that will go there, and you will feel it snap into place. So there is that. Once that's done, that's basically the arms. The next thing we're going to do is come to the chest and yank it forward. And then there's this little bit inside that you can press down, take his head, move it down, fold up that section, take the arms, tabs right there, slots on the arms, and that's it. That's the true extent of the arms with this figure. There's nothing more. Flip that over the arm back there. Take his legs, spread them out, and then bend them in. So just bend them like that on another joint. This is basically just the core class, but upscaled. I'm not joking in the transformation department. These things here pull out and then rotate. It's very minor, but it gives enough clearance for the feet to be fully folded back. This one here is overly loose for some reason. It's not a big deal, though, because it does basically slot into place. So it's not like it's constantly moving or anything. Take this, fold it down. And then you're going to take this, and it kind of has a place it goes, but not really. It doesn't like to go into it most of the time. So this area right here, there's a tab that goes into like a groove type thing. So there's the groove, and then the tab's right there. And that'll go into there. There's then two ports and then two pegs on the side. And that's really what holds the chest piece in, along with the legs. You then take the gun. There is a tab on said gun, which is really brutal to fold down. Like so. And there we have Shockwave's tank form, which it's like the typical Shockwave mode at this point. I don't think it's that bad, but he's had this tank form for like the last couple iterations. Prime Shockwave had this tank form. The Dark of the Moon one was very different to this one, so at least give that one something. But I feel like the other ones, like you could definitely get like a walking tank, like from the Cyberverse show and everything like that. You could definitely get that. And the core class is just the exact same transformation, and you end up with the exact same thing. It does kind of roll. It's just a wallet, because I guess you can kind of see it down here with the cannon. But it does roll. It does have little wheels on the bottom, which is nice, because Recently, some tank formers have not had wheels. They put faux ones for some reason. Like, what's the point of faux wheels? Turn had faux wheels. It was weird. I don't know why they did faux wheels. It's just really strange. As far as it goes with this form, though, I mean, it's basically just folded up limbs. No new detailing is revealed. The cannon does have articulation, so it can move side to side. It has more this way than this way, however, just because of this. You can kind of get more if you can position it to go over the top of it. And due to the way that the peg works, you can have upward movement. So that's very good. So he does have all of the basic articulation. That's really it for Shockwave. So let's just get to my final thoughts on him. And as far as my final thoughts go on him, I think he is a really good figure. There's not really much wrong with him because he's kind of like Megatron, who I did review, but I've gotten rid of that review, which, God, I shouldn't have done that. I still kind of regret that video deletion, but not really. Like, a lot of it was just kind of me making multiple videos in a day, and I ran out of stuff. I was already going back, and I'm already going to be going back again, but this gives me a little bit more freedom what to do. But this guy looks pretty good in robot mode, which all of the Bumblebee movie figures do. The always weak point, especially for the Decepticons, other than the Seeker mold. I don't own the Seeker mold, but it seems like that one's definitely the best for the alt form. The alt form is always a bad thing with these guys. It is never good. There is never anything good about that alt form. It's always the low light of the figure, and in this case, it once again is the low light, and actually the transformation costs the bicep swivel. It's really dumb that they basically did that. In the tank mode, it's just, much like I said, Soundwave has a very bad alt form. Megatron's alt forms are half-assed as all could be. This is even more. It's just him laying down. That's all it is. It's him laying down. It is the exact transformation as the core class. There is no extra steps from the core class. There's like one small extra step, and it's these being flipped. And by the way, I forgot to do that because it's such a small step. It doesn't matter. All that does is stop the feet from going all the way back. That's all that's there for. Do I think that this guy is worth it? Absolutely. The robot mode's fantastic to look at. I love looking at this thing. The posability, like I said, the bicep is a big thing, but it's not the worst. Like, there's 10 times worse things. Like, he can move. It's just the bicep sucks. Another thing that you might not like is the shoulders stick up, so it does kind of hit these little kind of back pylons. But that's fine to me. I can't really give him a 5 out of 5. I want to, but if it was off a robot, sure. But the alt mode and transformation, the transformation's boring. It's so dull, it's easy. There's no interesting steps. The alt mode is just a tank. Tank alt mode, especially Cybertronian tanks, usually suck. The only exception as of late to that is, like, Tarn. That's it. And then the robot mode not having a bicep. So I'm going to give him a solid 4 just because I have to degrade him. And I don't really want to because I like this guy. He has a lot of wicked details and he looks amazing. He's 100% a recommendation from me if you can get him. I mean, he's really, really good. But that's really all I have to say about Shockwave here. So this has been a review of Studio Series Shockwave. This has been Elfire Elite signing out.